This is the story of myself walking out onto my deck in the morning and pretending to look thoughtfully upon the day.
No, this is the story of my journey to financial independence.
Well, what does this have to do with that?
I don't know, I just really like filming scenes. It's fun. I love it.
Oh,
Yeah, so can we try that again, please?
okay. This is the story of my journey to the front porch where I...
Okay, no.
Sometimes I feel a little bit like a dog because I need a good walk every day. I used to feel a little bit silly about it, but then I learned that some of the world's greatest minds like Darwin, Dickens, Nietzsche, and Beethoven all loved going for long walks. So now I just say, hey, you know what those guys did? They walked a lot, and you know what I just went for? A walk. So we're like practically friends. All jokes aside, my journey to financial independence has allowed me to carve out a small piece of freedom in my day that I just cherish so much. The ability to start my day with a long walk. This time last year, I never would have been able to do such a thing. That's because I was supposed to be at my desk like a good boy for 8 a.m. sharp, ready to face another mind-numbing day in the corporate machine. That type of lifestyle was definitely not for me. It really hindered my personal growth in a lot of ways because I just wasn't in charge of my own time. Now, having reached a level of financial independence where I was able to take a risk like quitting my job, I have the time to do things that I believe are critical for myself, like taking a long walk. I know it might sound silly if you're not really the walking type, but some of my best ideas and some of my favorite conversations I've ever had have been all along some trail. I'm going to be going out west to the Rocky Mountains of Alberta later this week, and I am just so excited to walk among those sleeping giants once again. While I'm there, I'm going to be filming an Ask Me Anything video. It's been a while since I've done one, and we just hit 40,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. So please follow me on Instagram and watch for a story that I'll put out where you can submit your questions for that video. The last time I was out west, I believe I was 23 years old, and it was a pivotal time in my life. I had just moved from a small town of less than 10,000 people to a city of around 3 million, landed my first real job, ended a relationship, and decided to seriously pursue financial independence. With all of these major changes happening, I needed some clarity. So I booked some time off work and headed out there. My first time traveling solo. I honestly don't think I would be the same person today if I had not gone on that trip. Some of the decisions I made and promises to myself on those trails or atop those mountains, I just don't think would have manifested themselves if I had been trapped at my desk. But now, having carved out a piece of freedom for myself, I don't need to submit a vacation request up an archaic chain of command so that somebody else can decide if it's okay for me to move my body from one place to another. I can just go. And more than that, I can just walk whenever I please. What's your walk? I've talked about this in a previous video, but I think it deserves more attention. For me, financial independence is very much about enabling me to live in accordance with my authentic self. And for a very long period of time, I was not doing this, primarily because a traditional career path did not allow me to do this. When I was young, I felt like a strange kid because when somebody would ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" everyone had answers. Doctor, lawyer, writer, teacher, they all had answers. Me, I always made something up. I lied. Because the truth is, I like almost everything. I am genuinely interested in general. Health, wealth, the meaning of life. Tell me about it. My ears are open and I want to learn. But be a doctor, a banker, a monk? No thank you. That's just too specific for me. So what place does someone like me have in the world? A world that praises specializing in one very specific skill. Where's the generalists? Where's the jacks of all trades? They weren't there. They weren't in the traditional schooling system. They weren't in the traditional workforce. But finally, I found them. They're here. They're telling stories. They're forming new connections. They're doing what people told them they can't. So, if you've ever felt like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, if you've ever felt like society doesn't have a path for you, get some independence and make your own damn path. Financial independence is not about money. It's about everything else. I was watching a video the other day. It popped up on my homepage and it was by a channel called Heinz. The person was speaking about an idea that resonated with me a lot. The idea of serving two masters. From the area that I'm from, growing up, there was this narrow band of what was socially acceptable to be involved in as a male, or in other words, what was seen as cool. Sports were highly encouraged, hockey being the big one. So I played rep hockey, and I really enjoyed it. I made some of my best friends through it. And to this day, I still love being active, but there was a lot of interests of mine that, at the time, I suppressed. For example, I love reading, particularly in the fantasy genre, and the stories that I read would inspire me to then write or to draw. I love drawing these characters, and I just let my imagination run wild. But few people saw this work. Few people knew this side of me. And that's because this small subsection of society that I was growing up in, they just did not encourage these types of interests. Kids would bully each other over this type of stuff. Creativity and the arts in general weren't really seen as a suitable masculine pursuit by my peers or by the school system that I grew up in. So for a period of time, that's what I believed was true. And so for most of my life, I've been serving two masters. One who has told me to conform to society's whims, and the other who has been keeping my spark alive, however dim it may have been sometimes. One was my outward appearance, one was my inward. Not anymore. Now I have a vegetable garden. I read whatever the hell I want, and I'm not afraid to tell thousands of people that I think the Stormlight Archive series is dope. But most of all, I went from someone who was extremely introverted and conditioned to think that they were weird based on society's expectations, to someone who is still admittedly happily introverted, but also not afraid to put my authentic self out there. Once again, the journey to financial independence is not about money. It's about everything else. And for me, it's about serving my real self instead of society's expectations. What financial independence really gets you is independence in general. And independence in general allows you to be free from the pressures of conformity. So, why pursue financial independence? Forget about the financial part for a minute. Let's just talk about independence. Under a capitalist economy, having enough wealth is definitely a prerequisite. There's no way around that. But what I'm really after is just independence. Hines also said another thing in the video that really resonated with me. If you suppress yourself, the world will suppress you. Well, I'm about done suppressing myself. Aren't you?